Willems, I'm sorry, with Mo Willems and Tony DiTerlizzi.
No, I'm Mo Willems.
It's very confusing now.
Well, the real Mo Willems.
There we go.
Please stand up. It's a pleasure to have you both.
Thank you.
We are here with PBS. We're at Book Expo America and BookCon. They run back to back. And we're here to talk about the story of Diva and Flea. Have you guys ever worked before this book?
We've worked. I was a waiter at one point. I painted bubblegum cards. I've had a lot of jobs. It has not all been a free ride for me.
It hasn't?
No.
Have you ever worked together?
No.
Not together, no. A lot of mutual admiration from afar.
We've neighbored together for many years, and I think that is actually one of the keys to this, is that we have been pals for a long time. And this is a story that takes place in Paris. I took a year in Paris, sort of a sabbatical. And the night before I left for Paris, I went out to dinner with Tony and his family. So, so he's been involved in this trip even before it happened. And now it's a longer trip.
And we're big art collectors, and we've traded art, so we both have a love of children's illustration. And I think there's been a nice, friendly rivalry of like, did you get a new? I got a new piece.
Right.
Right. So
it is amazing how so many of you guys know each other and are friends with each other. And I don't know if that's, I mean, authors tend to know each other, but in this YA community, in the artistic and illustrator community, there does seem to be a real connection that's a little bit deeper even.
yeah, I think because of the majority of our time is spent, at least for me, in isolation. I'm down in my studio and I'm either writing or I'm drawing, and it's great to be able to meet up with someone else who's going through kind of the same thing and reconfirms that you're not insane. Because sometimes
I mean, it's a weird thing that we are on our own, but then there are conventions like this where you get to meet people, and you know, it's a bunny eat bunny world. It's a very interesting industry, but we all live, a lot of us live in the same area in this sort of bucolic part of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And what's great is that I like to say you can't throw an artisanally handcrafted rock without hitting another illustrator where we live.
Why Massachusetts? What is it? What is about this bucolic area?
there's
it's bucolic.
Yeah.
There's the bucolic.
Yeah, that's nice.
I think that is a large part of the bucolic.
Yeah, the colleges keep the area really hip. I mean, we got like 5 colleges, so it's not a stuffy New England town. There's a lot going on. When we first moved up there 10 years ago, there were record stores, lots of used bookstores. There's good food. And it's filled with ex-New Yorkers.
Right, there's that. And of course there's the Eric Carle Picture Book Museum, which is right there. Eric used to live there.
Yeah.
And so that sort of creates a center. Not only are we neighbors, but a lot of people go through the museum and then they'll stay with Tony, or they might stay with Tony, or perhaps they'll stay with Tony.
Yes.
And then we get to see them.
I've never been invited to Tony's yet, but I'm working on that.
You'll work your way up. Get invited to my place, and then you work your way up.
So, but it wasn't this bucolic part of Massachusetts where the story came out. It was Paris.
It was Paris, yes.
You guys were together. What came first, the desire to work together or the story?
No, the story dictates everything. So this is a story. I lived in Paris for a year, and like some of my other books, everything in this book is true except for the parts that I made up. But I did live in a lovely building that had a very small dog named Diva that was having a relationship with a very large alley cat named Flea. And as I started writing this story, I started to realize that its rhythm demanded a different type of art. In the business, the reason I didn't draw it is in the business we needed something that is called good drawing.
You don't think yours is good?
And that's not what I do.
Fortunately, I owed Mo a lot of money on a bet that I lost. And
but I did know that Tony was in a place where he kind of wanted to like go back and look at some of these old chapter books that he really liked. He wanted to go back and do some art and take a little bit of a respite from what his other projects were. And then, like I say, the story demanded that Tony do it. After he agreed, I had no idea how collaborative it would be from there. And it was surprisingly and wonderfully collaborative. I mean, he really changed what the story ultimately was about.
How so? How did that collaboration sprout? What happened?
Well, I mean, I think it came out of like working with Fahle on Spiderwick. And in that process, Fahle and I often were like, we would talk story, I would show her the art, very different than the usual roles that an author and an illustrator take in creating a book. So I asked Mo when he rang me up. I mean, obviously I was so flattered, but I was also like, let's just give everything we can to make the best book possible. And
And
you
it is
I
all
see
about the book.
Yeah, that's the way we both feel.
Here's the thing: is I'm the writer, but I know how to draw.
Yeah.
And he's the illustrator, but he knows how to write.
Yeah.
So it's we're each sort of looking out for potholes for the other and getting
right.
a sense of it. And a lot of it is philosophical talk about the feel of the piece.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, it's really, really a fun way to go about it.
You really have to pull like you can't hold back. I mean, we're you know, for me, I regard books for children so highly that I will do anything I can to try to make the best book possible. And absolutely delineating some role would be, that doesn't make any sense, especially given what we both have done separately. Then why not use our superpowers together to try to make the best book possible?
I think Tony and I both come from one philosophical thing, is that you're not making a book, you're making a child's friend. And so it is incumbent upon you to, one may not be perfect, but to make the best possible friend that you can.
Yeah.
And that means challenging each other. That means pissing each other off a little from time to time.
Yeah.
But it's not about us. It really is about this object that is going to be, put it this way, books don't come with subtitles. They don't say like, well, it was a really hard year, or I needed to get this done, or whatnot. The book is the book.
It seems like you guys really enjoy the collaborative side. I mean, it's so different when you're doing your own stuff and you're going down that path, and it's all you, it's your characters, it's the pigeon, it's Snuffle Bunny, it's your family, it's Trixie. You know, this is stuff that you're putting out in the world. With this, and with you, Tony, it's one line, it's the stuff that you do on your own. But this, you get to totally surrender that. You get to like open up to the possibility that someone knows maybe better than you do, or can make it better.
We both come from a place of collaboration. Tony's work with Fahle was definitely very collaborative, and I started in television, which is highly collaborative. And I guess it's a little bit like the push and pull of your muscles. I love to do my own stuff, but at a certain point, I want to have a more open, conversational form of creation, because I don't sit in a room when I'm doing an Elephant and Piggy book and talk to myself. You know,
it can go in a different direction though than you maybe anticipated. Do you find that as like a great thing, or are you like,
well, it makes a third thing that neither he nor I would have been able to create on our own. That inspires me and it fascinates me, and you learn a lot. I felt like you learn a lot. You come out of the other side of it, and you're like, it will affect the next things that I create when I do, my next book about a frog and
a and a sprig. Yes, no, I'm sure.
Well, and the drawings for this are really like they're whimsical. They're different than your other. It's different than your other stuff. It's like they're lovely and in many cases colorful and sometimes not. But it's more fun. It's more whimsical than a little less sort of detailed as some of the certainly the stuff of Spiderwick was.
Right. Well, you have to listen to what the story is telling you, and the story has a mood. It has. It's kind of the between the lines, what's going on in the story, and that feeling. The best way I can liken it is if it's music, are you going to play an acoustic guitar, or are you going to play an electric guitar, and is it going to be turned way up, or is it going to be, And so the feelings that I got when I read Mo's manuscript were like, oh, well, this is a little bit of fun, but there's like there's a nice undercurrent of something that are real, as you said, like philosophical challenges that these characters are dealing with. There's complexity there. So the art can be playful, but it should also have a bit of a serious tone to it. So immediately I thought of Arnold Lobel. I showed you some Arnold Lobel who did like Frog and Toad Are Friends. We thought of Maurice Sendak and the Little Bear books. And when you have a starting place, and that both of us really felt excited about, then I can then start creating from that place.
And one of the great things was that in this story, there's a character that really has never left its house, and there's a character that's never had its house. Yeah. And I've been very lucky. I've traveled a lot. We lived in Paris for a while. I've lived in other countries. Tony had not been to Paris.
No.
And so him going there with the eyes of this book and then coming back and seeing the city and seeing the colors, particularly the colors change as he was there, was revelatory for me as well. That also changed the tone. It was, I mean, how fun is that?
That is fun.
Right?
It was pretty amazing.
And both you guys, like, this is where I slather on the praise part of the interview, but you talk about Sendak and some of the books of my childhood and some of the writers that meant so much to me. You're now writing books that mean that much to the kids that are growing up today, whether it's Snuffle Bunny, whether it's Spiderwick. I can tell you from experience with both of your books and my family, they're having that same effect. And it's wonderful that you guys found your way to each other, and that we have Diva and Flea. And I hope there's more. Is there going to be more?
I think the story has to create the combination. I put it this way, there's no way that we would never not work together, but the story has not presented itself.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wait for another one for it to come crashing into our worlds. But in the meantime, the story of Diva and Flea, Tony DiTerlizzi, Mo Willems. I got it right this time. Thank you both so much for being here. It's really
Thanks,
great
Rich.
to have you.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Thanks.